Hi there, friends. This is David McLeod coming to you from Belmont. As you can see, I'm back home this week after having spent an absolutely fantastic weekend down in LA with Tommy last weekend and just doing some amazing things. I'm just like totally buzzed, excited. I'm on warp drive right now, and I can't even seem to settle myself down. It's pretty crazy. So you've heard the expression, the calm before the storm. Well, Tommy and I were looking at that and said, yeah, but that's not the way life usually goes. Usually we have a storm and then all that crap happens. And then, so we're looking at this, at the calm after the storm and how we can shorten the distance between the two. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, hey, Tommy, good to see you again, bro. I'm missing you from last week, and I'm glad you're here with me on this thing today.
Yeah, hey, David. Yeah, thanks for coming down. That was a total blast, from everything from doing the show in my living room downstairs to hanging out at the beach together and the photo shoot, everything else we did. It was great time. Mm-hmm. And some of the spirit storming we were doing. Yeah. So today we're talking about the calm after the storm. And David, you did it nicely, right? We all have stuff that goes on in our life, things that are storms, things that we hang on to, things that we, just bottle up inside of ourselves. And the question is, how quickly can we get back to calm? How quickly can we get back to being ourselves? How quickly can we come back and find some of that clarity that we know we have glimpses of once in a while? And a storm can just really rattle our brains, right? It can really upset us internally. So maybe first we start talking about maybe types of storms or things that cause storms in us. I've got some ideas around in a lot of ways, a lot of storms that we create or that happen to us, the longer we hang on to them, the more harm we're doing ourselves. And I think that's the point behind this, right? To really shorten the time that we're hurting ourselves. And some of that has to do with how much we hold on to. So I don't know if anything in there triggers the next point in discussion, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think ultimately, in reality, as much as I imagine I can hurt you, really all I'm ever doing is hurting myself. When I focus all my energy outward, I'm creating a world that actually bounces back on me and creates even more storm. So I'm actually feeding my own, I guess I'm feeding my own cycle of turmoil that is creating the angst and the pain and the I don't know, whatever other words you can think of that are happening inside. I imagine it's all going on outside of me, but really it's happening inside of me. And that's, I think, a big realization that a lot of people don't quite get. It takes a while to kind of understand that. It takes a while for all of us to realize that every experience we seem to think happens out there really is being processed internally. And so the question is, can we get out of the past, stop worrying about that and dwelling on things that have hurt us? Can we stop worrying about what's going to happen in the future? In other words, projecting our past forward in time, and just stay here. Because right here, there is no storm. Right here, everything is perfect. So this is the whole point of our teaching. So let's dive in there.
Let's dive into the present moment. And we use that term a lot, and I was like, oh yeah, that thing again. But somebody said to me once, think about this moment you're in right now. Right now, you're listening to David and I talk, and I'm standing in the room talking, and David's standing in his place and sitting in his place and talking. Right now, things are pretty calm. My mind is pretty focused. I'm pretty calm. My heart rate is pretty calm. I don't have a lot of stress going on. My muscles aren't tense and tight. I don't feel a lot of anxiety. I don't feel any anger. I don't feel any resentment. I don't feel any regret right now. In this moment right now, I just don't. And if you think about the times when you're present and in the moment, whether you're doing something that you love to do, whether you're biking or running or hiking or hanging out with a friend, or think about those moments when you're in the moment, and you'll find that that is true 99% of the time, that you're not in a stressful situation, you're not in danger, you're not in harm's way, there isn't a bus barreling down on you that's about to run you over. Usually, most moments are pretty calm and pretty safe and pretty cool. And the second our mind takes over and starts dragging us into the past or propelling us into the future, storm clouds come in, lightning, thunder, shit's happening, and nothing's really happening.
Yeah.
Nothing's really happening. We're just making it up in our head.
Yeah.
And so that storm, and you said it nicely, David, is like let's talk a little bit about the past, because I really want people to feel the reality of the storms that we create for ourselves. And maybe just take a real life example of something in your life that you're still hanging on to, right? I am so resentful. I'm still hanging on to, that person, I can't believe they said that to me. I can't believe they did that to me. And here I am hanging on to resentment, remorse, or some sort of regret about something that happened 20 years ago. For 20 years ago, unconsciously, somebody said something, we took it personally, well, we swallowed that poison pill, and for 20 years, that poison pill has been eating us up inside. That person has come, gone, done their life, maybe moved on, maybe become whatever they did, maybe they're dead. They didn't hang on to that thing, but we did. Mm-hmm. And that is the storm that we create in ourselves from swallowing poison pills and hanging on to them and not knowing how to puke them up.
Yeah, that's a great, another great metaphor, Tommy. And this is one of the things I think we do really well, is we create these metaphors. But one thing I want people to hear really clearly is that certain things did indeed happen in your past, and we're not taking any of that away. And maybe you really did get hurt in a bad way. Maybe something really bad did happen to you. For that, I'm really, really sorry. But here's the deal. It happened. It happened then. And now is not then. It doesn't serve me to keep reliving all of that pain that happened back there in the past for me. It doesn't serve me in any way to allow my ego mind to keep telling me, oh, it's going to happen again. You see that flower over there? That flower is dangerous because, I don't know what the hell. My mind just makes up stories that have absolutely no connection to reality. And it does this because it thinks it's keeping me safe. It's imagining some kind of danger, making it real in my mind, and then getting me to behave in certain ways to avoid a danger that, when I go back and look at it later, didn't really exist. So that's the nature of the storm. And all it takes, I think, is simply take a metaphorical step back and watch yourself having that cycle going on in your head. Become aware of, oh, look at that. I'm having this really cool dialogue with myself. There's a whole, masterpiece performance going on in my head that is so entertaining, and it's got me so wrapped up and so excited. I can't stop watching this thing. Great. Now you've got the awareness. Now you can do something about it.
Yeah, and to do something about it is as simple as, like I said, bringing awareness to it and knowing that whatever has hurt you in the past, as real as it was, can no longer hurt you in the present moment. The situation isn't existing right now. It's happened, it's done, it's over. And not only are we not looking at ourselves and saying, so you ask these questions of yourself, what good is this doing me to hang on to this? That's always a great question. When you find something and you bring it up in awareness, ask the question, what good is it doing for me to hold on to this, to be believing this, to be still like having that poison pill in my gut? Why? What's the value? And
hey, Tommy, I just want to interrupt you there, because that is a really important question. What good is this doing me? Another way to phrase it, how is this serving me? Mm-hmm. How is this serving me? Just kind of think about that. Carry on, please. I liked what you were saying.
Yeah, so how is this serving me, or what good is this doing me? Because the truth of it is, as you said, David, it's only hurting us. It's only harming us. If we're holding on to negative things that have happened in the past, gulp, poison pill, we're only hurting ourselves. It's harming us. Mm-hmm. Our ego is going to let us think that, well, it's protecting me from this happening to me in the future. Well, no, your intelligence and your wisdom is going to prevent you from getting into that situation again, or you'll deal with it differently as an adult than you could have dealt with it as a child, or whatever happened and when it happened. and trust that your higher intelligence, your wisdom, your higher self can come through now in this moment situation and prevent and help you from this thing reoccurring in the future. But regardless of what your future holds, realize that holding on to that storm from the past is killing you. Literally, figuratively, and truthfully, it's killing you, because that's where stress comes from. That's where tension comes from. That's where illness comes from. That's where breakdown in your immune system comes from. All these things that you know, all the medical things, like 90% of your illnesses is related to your thoughts and your ideas and your mind. Well, this is it. It's the things we've believed and picked up and held on to our entire lives that we're still holding on to. Those, and I scrunch with my face because you feel them, right? You feel those, oh, those angries, those nasties, those bads, those means, those awfuls. They're not happening right now. We already showed that most of your right nows are pretty calm and cool and collected.
Yeah.
So the more we can reduce, become aware of, and reduce all those things we picked up in life, and let them go. Either puke them up, spin them out, talk about them to a coach or a friend, get them out of your system, or just deal with them in your own mind. Bring them up in your awareness, shine your light of awareness on them, deal with them. How this is doing me any good anymore? Is it serving me? No, okay. Let them go, drop them, get rid of it. This is what is going to do what David said earlier, is shorten the distance between current life storms and the calm. Things are still going to happen, right? So let's maybe talk about that. Stuff's still going to happen in life.
Yeah.
But how quickly you recover from it, how quickly you get back to the calm, has to do with how much stuff you're still holding around, carrying around with you, right?
Absolutely. You know, and something else you said, I just want to bring awareness to this. As I'm in this moment, if I'm allowing myself to dwell on things of the past or churn up, if I'm allowing that storm to take place, notice what impact that's having on my prospective future. You know, I can't possibly be focusing on my goals, my intentions, my purpose, my life's intention when I'm so busy thinking about all this stuff that, you know, I'm holding on to. I don't think it's possible, really, because, you know, like it or not, you know, as much as people want to think that we can do multitasking, I don't think our brains really are capable of doing it. Our brains really are designed to do just kind of, you know, maybe a half a dozen things at a time. Some of them, there is some subconscious stuff that can happen while we're thinking consciously of things, absolutely. But mostly, when we try to multitask, all we end up doing is messing up 2 tasks or more. You know, that's what I've seen in my life. So we really have to focus. We really have to focus our attention on our intention. That's really, really important. And the only way I can really do that is to become more aware of what I'm doing, how I'm thinking, what I'm creating in my own mind, the stories that I'm living, and how I'm letting them hold me back. And then I can take my intention and say, so what do I want to do with that? What do I want to do with that? Is it serving me? If it is, maybe I can keep doing it. If it's not, then maybe I can make a shift. It's very, very important, this whole awareness thing and so forth. And the quicker I can become aware, as we've both said already now, the quicker I can start that process of shortening that distance.
So much great stuff you said in there. So when you started talking, you said, let's think about this for really, about multitasking and going off in different directions, right? You only have so much you in this moment. Let's call that 100%. I have 100% of my energy that I wake up with in the morning. And I've got 16 hours of waking time to do things, or to be, or to live, or to experience life, whatever it is. 100% of your energy as you wake up in the morning. Now, if your brain totally clicks on in the morning like mine used to, and I start worrying about things in the future, or I start regretting things about the past, okay, here comes my 100% scale, right? I'm spending 20% worrying about the past, spending another 20% worrying about the future. Now you got to make it through a whole day with 40% of your space, of your presence, of your energy left to go, because your mind is magnetically dragging you into the past or magnetically pulling you into the future. And again, into storm. We're not talking about inspirational future. We're not talking about revisiting the nice things of our past. No, we're talking about the storm piece, right? We're in the storm. And feel where your energy is going. As long as we're stuck in the storm, that leaves us very little energy. And then we got to go to work, and we got to do our job, and we got to drive. And how much energy is left to be? How much energy is left to just be present and to bring your focus and to bring your attention into the stuff I need to deal with today?
Yeah.
I've got a situation at work I need to deal with. Well, I don't have any energy. I can't even think about that. Why not? Well, because I'm thinking about the last 30 years of my life. What do you mean, why not? Duh. But that's what our brain does. That's what our mind, crazy brain does.
Yeah.
It keeps you, distracted. It intentionally, your ego intentionally distracts you from the present moment. And it distracts you in storms. And you know this is true. You can think of your own life examples where you're like, oh yeah, that's yep. I wallow in the past all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Well, as we've talked about before, Tommy, there are people out there, some of whom may watch this video or this show, and who don't really buy into the whole mental spiritual dichotomy thing per se. Some people think that really my brain is the entire piece. And so what I'd like to know is, how can we help those people? How can we address those people and help them to become more present? Personally, I think the answer is obvious, but I think that the deal is, when I become more present, the idea of spirit becomes just a very natural thing for me. It's not like one of those woo-woo things way out there somewhere, some magical concept. It actually feels like very real. When I'm fully present with who I am, the spirituality aspect of it makes total sense to me. When I'm fully present with who I am, I can see and feel and experience oneness with everything. And that is an absolutely wonderful feeling for me. It brings me great joy. It brings me excitement. It brings me passion about continuing to do the work I do, because I know the more I wake up, the more time I spend being present, the more I can help other people to do the same thing. And the more of these other people will begin to wake up in a way that I think is just going to elevate the whole planet. So all of this, when one person learns how to shorten that distance between the storm and the calm, the world shifts in a big way. When 2 people do it, it shifts some more. When 3 people do it, it shifts some more. So get together with your friends. Do it with them. Get together and talk about the whole crap that's going on in your head, and then just let it go, and then sit down and be quiet for a while. Watch what happens. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And you said, what can we do to help people who are maybe still stuck in their minds? We didn't have to bring that up. That you did is awesome, but we didn't have to bring that up in this whole discussion. We could have never even talked about spirit or spirituality in this whole discussion. This whole discussion was about the mind. And as we look at the way the mind plays tricks on us, we're doing a couple of things there first. First, we're separating ourselves from our mind. We're saying, you know what, mind? I've been listening to you and believing that you were me this whole time, and now you're talking to it as a third party, as a separate entity. That's a great step. That's kind of becoming the witness and becoming the observer. And just in that, David, it naturally creates a sense of separation between you and this nutty thing that may be running out of control. And that alone can help people start to see that, well, if I'm not my mind, which is a brilliant discovery to have, then what am I?
Exactly.
And that gets into this whole thing. And then you start exploring, then you start finding your own truth for yourself, no matter what David says, no matter what Tommy says. When it comes to that, we'll help you keep clearing away the mind noise, but your discovery of who you really are is really a very personal, private thing that you'll do for yourself. And you'll want to, and you'll find it, and you'll seek it, and again, that the power that your mind has over your life will come to a point when that past and that future no longer run and control your life anymore. And then you'll just know in your presence, in your essence, that in this moment, you'll know more who you are. You'll feel it. You won't think about it so much. So that happens naturally. So I'm not sure there's every teacher, gives signposts and points to that truth of ourself. And part of what we do is we help take away what blocks your vision. Why can't I see myself? Well, because your ego mind's in the way. It's dragging you into the past. It's making storms of the future. No, we're just helping dissipate those clouds a bit. Mm-hmm. And then in that calm, and in that clarity, and in that presence, and in this moment is where you'll find your own truth of, if I'm not my mind, what am I? Well, you'll see for yourself.
Exactly. There's something else that you should know, my friends. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. I got where I got not by doing this all by myself. I needed help. I was afraid to ask for it. I had some judgments about being weak if I asked for help. Maybe you have that same thing going on for yourself too. I don't know. But here's the deal. When you ask for help, first off, you are really honoring the person you're asking. You're giving that person a real gift. Wow, you want help from me? Wow, you think I'm good enough that I can help you? That's an amazing gift. So try and frame it that way. And the second thing is, when you ask for help, that other person, whoever it is, can always see things from a different perspective than you can. And so even though you may think you have a pretty good handle on it, even when you're in your present moment, someone is going to say something to you that's just going to bang. It's going to click so loud in your head. Oh my God, yes. It's a super gift. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's the first thing. And at the same time, I want you to be careful about who you ask for help from. Make sure that you're clear in your own mind that whoever you're asking for help from, that person is pretty clear and not necessarily hooked into your drama in some way. So you want to kind of distance yourself from family and friends and stuff, and maybe focus on getting a therapist or a coach or somebody like that who can be very neutral. Okay? So very, very important to do those things. And when you ask for help, believe me, you're going to suddenly realize how important that help is. And all of a sudden, your movement is just going to accelerate and accelerate and get faster and faster. And that will just naturally start that process of closing that gap.
Yeah, brilliant point, David. And so I'll give my perspective on asking for help too, because what you said, we're afraid to ask for help, or we're embarrassed to ask for help, or we're ashamed to have to ask for help. I'm an adult. I can do this all by myself. That voice, the I can do this all by myself voice, is our ego mind that wants to keep you entrapped in the storm. Mm-hmm. Because that's just kind of what it does until it doesn't do it anymore, until you retrain it to do its job right. But until then, the human race that we're born into trains our egos to behave in crazy, nutty ways. No fault, no blame. So don't be embarrassed. Don't feel shame. Don't feel I should be able to do this myself, because it's a collective consciousness, this human race is, that we're born into. We're conditioned to believe certain things. We're trained and taught and domesticated, as some people say, in certain ways. And it's no fault of ours. I was born, I didn't really have a choice. I was born into this planet. There's nowhere else to go. And so I'm going to get conditioned. I'm going to get these beliefs. I'm going to get my ego mind entrenched and strengthened and empowered and stronger. And it's going to then, and I'm going to live in a storm. As long as I succumb to, or not succumb to, as long as I continue to believe all the stuff I've been taught by the human race. Mm-hmm. And so it takes wisdom to decide for yourself that I no longer want to suffer. I no longer want to cause myself this pain. I no longer want to cause myself this misery. I no longer want to keep these poison pills in my gut. It takes some strength to say that. And once you say that, you ask for help, and the universe, when I say generally the universe, you ask for help and somebody's going to show up in your life. The answers, the books, the information, the line in a song that you forgot you knew, things are going to come in and start giving you a little burst of blue sky in those clouds. And that's going to be your assurance that this is working, that this is the way it's supposed to go. And again, the more work you do, then the clearer the skies get and the clearer the skies stay. And even when a storm does come in, even when something crappy does happen, or another misery does, or something does fail, or whatever happens, or somebody else yells at you, that storm comes in. Well, now guess what? It's a little bit different, because it's not one big cloud of a sky of storm clouds that you kind of see a little blue sky through once in a while. Now the sky is mostly blue, and when a cloud comes in, it storms, and then now it's a matter of, okay, how fast can that cloud dissipate and go away? That's the shift that happens inside of you. That's what will happen. I promise it will. And all you need to do is ask.
Yeah.
Ask, and as David said, then trust your heart as to who you listen to and who you trust. Trust your heart, you know, who feels right, who feels like a good teacher in my life at this point. And it may be family. If somebody in your family has that level of awareness and they've done a lot of work and they have relatively clear skies, then maybe it is a family member. But it may not be, like David implied, it may not be your normal go-to people, the people you usually, you know, talk to and get stuff from. But you'll feel that. You'll feel the truth of who the right people are and or who the right source of information is coming from.
Yeah. So the other thing that really hit me just now, Tommy, you talked about it can be work. It's going to take work. And this is true. What I've noticed in my life is some of that work was really, really hard. It was kind of like I'm building a house. And before I could build my house, I had to get the rocks out of the dirt in my yard. Well, have you ever tried digging rocks out of the yard? That's kind of like the hardest work you can do. But once the rocks got out of the way, suddenly things got easier, you know? And the building of the house became more enjoyable. It became more like a meditative practice. It became more like, wow, I'm actually getting a lot out of this. It's still work in the traditional sense, in that I have to put effort and I have to put intention into it. But it's not work in the sense that it hurts so much and it feels so painful and, oh my God, do I really have to do this? What I noticed in my life is that my ego mind started to quiet down and be okay with me doing this work. And over time, everything just, it becomes pleasurable. It's almost play now. Almost play. I haven't quite got to the place of being total play yet, but I'm working on it.
And thanks for saying that, David, because you're absolutely right. It does get to a place of play, and let the seekers seek. When they seek, they will find. This is all, you know, ask and you'll get answers. You'll find answers. When you find, you'll be troubled. And I think that's the point you're talking about, David. And a lot of people are afraid to really jump in and to really clean house because they're afraid it's going to hurt. Oh, what, I have to go revisit all those painful old memories? No, there's ways to actually clean a lot of old memories without a lot of revisiting and a lot of resuffering. You don't have to go through a lot of that stuff. There are practices and teachings and things that I do and things that David can help with that can clear away a bunch of stuff without, you know, picking up every single rock. We'll actually rent you a big freaking bulldozer. In one afternoon, you can wipe out, get the ground clear and get all the rocks out of the way. Really, yeah. It can happen in a short period of time if you're really ready to do the work. Now, as you're talking about building a house, I'm thinking about striking a hammer on a nail, and once in a while you go, poof, oh, my thumb, oh, son of a, and that may happen too. But again, so there might be a spike of intense discomfort.
Yeah.
And I've gone through my spikes of intense discomfort, but I knew as I got over them that they weren't going to get worse. When you go through these spikes of discomfort, when you face these storms, there's an end to them. They're not going to continue to increase, and I'm not going to, like our brain says, if you start down that path, then your whole life's going to fall to shit, and it's going to be miserable, and you're going to hate yourself and hate everybody around you. Your brain's going to tell you that's going to get worse and 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 worse, and you're going to die that way. That's a big freaking lie your brain tells you. There might be a spike in discomfort when you have to really face some of the things and some of the choices we've made and whatever. A lot of forgiveness comes into this. But I promise you that the spike ends, and the faster and the more intense you go at it, the faster you get over it. And then, as you said, David, then you start to kind of enjoy the process, and right. As you know, you start clearing away the big boulders, and then you kind of enjoy building the house, and even whacking your fingers once in a while, like, oh, did it again. But it's okay, you're learning. Yeah. And then it does get to play, because that statement is, when you let the seekers seek, when they seek, they will find. When they find, they will be troubled. But when they're troubled, they will marvel. Meaning you get to this place of this kind of play and enjoying the process.
Right. Well, and I got to say, I've had some pretty hairy spikes in my time. And what I've noticed over the years as I've been doing this work is, yeah, I still have spikes, but the spikes aren't as big, you know, and they don't jump as high and they're not as intense. And in fact, they seem to rise a little more slowly as well. So the entire process has shifted for me just because I started doing the work, just because I dared to dig out that first rock. And that's really what this is all about. Being willing and having the courage to love yourself enough to take that first rock, take a look at it, do something with it, and move it out of the way. Because that's really what we're talking about here, is clearing space so that we can be fully present.
Sounds like a wrap, buddy.
Yeah. So friends, I'm not going to be here next week. This will be the first time in 81 episodes. It'll be my first episode that I've missed. I'm sorry to say. But Tommy has arranged a beautiful guest to join him, and so I'll let him talk about what they're going to be doing next week.
Yeah, so next week, Beata Lewis will be joining us again, joining me this time. And we're going to talk about a topic that's going to be called Thriving in a Box. And it's going to talk a little more about this human race that we live in and how to live and thrive as a present moment being in this human race. So join us next week. That'll be fun and exciting as well. And David, best wishes to you on your adventure, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
You bet. Bye-bye.